Welcome back to another episode of the Grinds My Gears podcast. My name is Ashton Amdari. Thank you for joining me today. We got a cool little talk episode that we're going to talk about today. But first, let me just remind you, please go, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you are watching or listening on Spotify, please like and subscribe. It really goes a long way to making this thing bigger so that I can get bigger guests on. Do different kind of talks, all that kind of jazz. So please make sure you like, subscribe, share if you can. That'd be great. Just to help this thing grow. I'm trying to spread some good words, some good messages out there, and I just want to make it grow and let people have a voice. So now we're gonna go into a topic that has kind of come up a lot lately as June rolls around, and I'm around a lot of different people when it comes to this education sector and education in general. And something I wanted to talk about for a while, but I just haven't had the opportunity to, and I figured now is a good time to jump on and do a podcast about it. I'll try to cut it around 40 minutes, not too long, but get what I need to say out about certain topics and when it comes to the education system. And so a lot of people who know me know how I feel about education. And my education, for example, they know how I feel that there's a lot that's going wrong with the education system today. And as a parent of young children, I'm very in tune to what's going on because I don't want my kids to fall into the same kind of traps that I fell into. And that being said, let's dive right into this whole topic about higher education. I'm going to go specifically into the university kind of sector, college area, post secondary education more. Because I feel like this is an area that affects more people closer to me and a group of young people who really are being misinformed right now by the institutions, government, and their parents, for example, because they're giving them some sort of false hope that post secondary education is 100% the way to go, and I really don't believe that. Now let's just start kind of where I'm at, what I did, and why I believe it, and then we're gonna go dive into deeper. So for those who know me, I actually am university educated. I did go to university. I have a degree in kinesiology, and for those who also know me, they will know that I would say it was a waste of my time. Um, Now, why I say that is because if when I was, a teenager and I was trying to figure out life, if people just talked to me, I would have made a whole lot of different decisions. And that's one of the big things that needs to change is we need to talk to our teens more. We need to talk to these young adults more, figure out what they like to do. And so now, like, we can get into the elementary education, which is a whole nother hour, 2 hours of talking. But let's talk about the specific area of high school, university. Now, that being said, I still want to touch on, elementary school, but that's for a separate day. What we want to talk about is post-secondary high school. Okay, these kids are going into high school, and I get to see a lot of it now as a coach because I have a lot of teens in our programs, and I'm around a lot of teens, and I get to see it as they really, by the time they get to high school, they start hating education. They start hating learning. They start hating going to school. And do I think it's necessary to go to school? No, I don't. I don't think it's necessary for high school. I don't think it's mandatory anymore because of the fact of how they're manipulating the high school and the education system in general. But that being said, there is value to it in some degrees. But now I ask the question to a lot of my guys: a lot of my students, a lot of other teenagers I know, why do you go to school? And they can't answer that question. They go, so this, they say, oh, because they make me, to learn or whatever. And I always kind of correct them because I tell them, you don't go to school to learn history. You don't go to school to learn French. You don't go to school to learn English. You don't, like, those are just subjects that you go to school and that they kind of make you do. The point of school, and it should be this way, and it's not that way anymore. And this is why so many young adults, so many young kids are misled right now. The point of school, the point of education, the point of education at a younger age is to help those younger people figure out how to learn. Learning in itself, like the topics, the passions, whatever somebody gravitates towards, science, history, whatever, that's secondary, right? There's a lot of people out there who love certain things, but can't get educated on it because they don't know how to learn. They don't know their learning style. They don't know how they absorb information. They don't know how to learn. And the whole entire system is based upon, the conspiracy theorists will say control. And I have to agree because we look at how, like, for example, Dr. Peterson did a great example of why boys ages 5 to 7 shouldn't be in school, right? Because they're not wired that way. We as humans are not wired to sit, look, pay attention. I'm going to talk. You're going to listen. You're going to absorb everything. And then you're going to go read it again in a textbook and regurgitate it on a piece of paper. I don't know about you, but that's not life, right? That's not, I've been running a business now for a while. That's not learning to me. What the more recent thing that's come out and the more trend that's come out, and some people dismiss it, but it's like, are they sending you to school to be part of a system that is continuously based upon people putting your hand up, saying yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, regurgitating information and just being a worker? I tend to agree that that's what has happened and the way education system has turned out to be. The education system has promoted itself not to be a place where you go to figure out how you learn best. And once you figure out how you learn best, then you say, I want to learn this. I'm very interested in this. And now that I know how to learn, I can absorb that information. I can get a good education and I can start doing positive things in my field. That's education to me. That's not what it is anymore. What it is now is from a very young age, from kindergarten all the way to grade 8, which is very young. They shove you in a classroom, tell you to sit, listen, put your hand up, obey. Bell rings, go to the next thing. Bell rings, go to the next thing. Bell rings, here's your lunchtime. Bell rings, finally you can go home. And guess what? That is no different than a 9 to 5. That is no different than working on the factory floor. That is no different. What it boiled down to me, and I was put in that system. What it boiled down to me is I've been indoctrinated into you need to wake up every day and go to work, and you have to have your lunch when they say you can have your lunch. You have to have your snacks when you say you have your snacks. Otherwise, you sit, you listen, you obey. And that is what the education system has become. A tool for, I would say, government, people in control, major corporations. The evidence is out there. The Rockefellers invented the system, right? So the whole system is based upon how can we turn you into a good worker instead of how can we teach you how to learn. When you teach someone how to learn, education is not a problem. And why I say that is now that I'm an entrepreneur, now that I have pursued my passions, I figured out what it is that makes me learn best. And for a person like me, what makes me learn best is not sitting and reading a book. It's not regurgitating information on a piece of paper. It's not doing any of that. For me, for my style of learning, for how I am as a human being, learning to me is application. I learn by doing things. I learn by making mistakes. I learn by going out there, listening to other people I'm interested in that make sense, that have similar ideologies to me, that communicate to me effectively. And then I take it in, I process it, and I can regurgitate it into useful education for myself. For me, as a jiu-jitsu black belt and a lifelong martial artist now, this is going to be what I do for the rest of my life. Learning is something I'm doing every single day, right? Because what I've learned is that I have to be very, very egoless when it comes to education. What I mean by that is, like, I spent 13 years getting a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Most people would say, okay, great, you're an expert now. No, I'm not. In fact, most of my learning happened after I became a black belt. And why I say that is because when I became a black belt, I realized, yes, all that 13 years was building a foundation. And now that I have this ability to learn and see and replicate, like, when you're very, very fresh in education, when you're very fresh in jiu-jitsu, when you're very fresh in anything, you don't know how to move, you don't know how to think. Everything is very over calculated. You're doing too much. You're using too much energy. You're studying the wrong way. You just watch videos on YouTube and you try to piece it together because you just don't know how to learn yet. And then for me, basically 13 years of jiu-jitsu was basically just teaching me how I needed to learn. Now I can look at a technique one time and most likely replicate it in one go. And two, now that I learned how to learn, right? I can see things, and in my head I can formulate different kind of movement patterns, different kind of things without even doing it. One of the hardest things for me as an athlete and as an entrepreneur is, over the last few years, I've had an incredible amount of knee issues. I've had to have a knee surgery over the last 10 years in my career. I've had a torn ACL that I've fought with. A lot of things were limited for me. There had to be a lot of times where I had to sit out because I had pec surgery, I had Achilles surgery, yada, yada, yada. I had to sit out. And a lot of my learning happened in that time, because when you can figure out how you are as a learner, for me, it's visual and application, then I can start putting into place, right? And when I was not able to do physically, because it's a physical thing that I'm enjoying and I pursued in my passion, when I can do that physical thing, it's great. I can apply. But when I can't, I learn. I learn a lot more when I can't apply it physically than when I can. And so where I want to get into this is this: that's a very tough thing for you to kind of swallow, is you can go through 15 years of education and still not know how to learn. And now we are in a situation where we have these young adults who don't even know how to learn. And we're shoving them into this indoctrination system of, let's take university, for example, and let's stick with that topic for the next little bit, okay? University, something that I've battled with a long time, because for me, I think I wasted 4 years of my life that I could have gotten back. Now, I'll go through the whole process of why I think that, and that's because I think nobody ever talked to me. For the longest time in my life, I wanted to be an athlete. And I was a good athlete at everything I did. I excelled at everything I did, and I wanted to be a professional athlete like nothing else. That was my entire being and my entire goal. And most people laughed at me. Most people told me that it wouldn't happen. Most people told me that you shouldn't do that. That's a pipe dream. Here's the thing. is when you're not pursuing the things you love to do, you're not pursuing life, right? And education for me is like, I'm not against school. I'm not against learning. I love higher learning. I do it all the time. But education for me is pursuing the things you love to do and being passionate about it and not being forced into it, right? So I was forced into going to school, basically. I was told you need to go to school. If you don't go to school, you're not going to be successful. If you don't go to school, you don't go to university, you don't sit there for 4 years, you're not going to be successful, right? And I had already found martial arts, but I wasn't in love with it then. But I knew I wanted to be a professional athlete. And I went through the 4 years of school. And when I came out of it, the notion to the notion that you're going to be successful right out of school, you're fucking delusional. And whoever's telling you that is delusional, right? Times have fucking changed, because what you're looking at now is you're going to go spend 4 years sitting in a place not really absorbing that information, first of all. And second of all, most people are studying things that are absolutely useless. Why do I say they're useless? Because they're studying things they're not passionate about, right? If you're going to university, if you're going to do post-secondary education, if you're doing any higher education and you don't love it, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? I don't love kinesiology. I can't even tell you what a kinesiologist's function is. I don't fucking know. I know it could branch off into many other different things, but I don't love it. I wasn't passionate about it. I just did it because it was something that interests me at the time. And we get fed this thing that if you go through this process and you go through these years of school, you're going to be able to come out and get a good job. You're going to get a job with benefits and all that kind of stuff, which is the dream. If you have that kind of a job, it's a dream. You're going to be able to have a kid. You're going to meet someone. You're going to get married with, and you're going to have a kid. Then you're going to be able to buy a house. And then you're going to retire, and you're going to have your pension, and you're going to be good to go. And I reject all of that. I think that's a shitty way to live. I think for some people, that's a great way to live. If that's what you want, I'm so happy for you. I think that that's fantastic. But for the rest of us, that seems like a fucking nightmare. Why? Because you've already mapped it out for me. That's not what life is. Life is about figuring it out. Life is about adventure. Life is about learning and having fun and meeting new people and doing new things and pursuing the thing that makes you want to get up every single day and say, fuck yeah, I love what I do. And I can say that. I can honestly, genuinely say I can wake up every day and say, I love what I do. I get to teach for a living. Running the business is difficult. Learning how to run a business and run a successful business is not the easiest thing. But the grind of all this 60 hours plus a week that I do is 100% worth it because I love what I do. Man, if there wasn't a class time, if there was no time to the end of classes when I teach, I would just teach jiu-jitsu for 3 hours straight. I can go from topic to topic and I have no issue, right? So when you pursue your life's passions, there's no end to your potential. But when you're just doing things for the sake of doing things, you're going to come out of those 4 years of school and those 4 years of education with pretty much the same thing a lot of other people have. Right? There's a big difference between someone who's passionate about something and somebody who just did it because they were told to. And now you are saying, go get a job and do well. The people who are loving their study field and the thing they do, those are the ones that excel. And I think one of the things we need to do a little bit better of is talk to our youth, talk to our up and coming kids that are 12, 13, speak to them and really think, what is it that you want to do? And if it's something that's incredibly difficult and you think you might be a parent, you might be like, that's fucking hard. That's terrible. Why would you want to do that? You should be ecstatic. You should be ecstatic that your child or your teen or your friend or whoever it is wants to go after something incredibly hard and rare. Because if they achieve it, they will receive such a gift and a love and a passion, and they will have something they can do for the rest of their life. And honestly, when you go after it and you ignore all the noise, you're going to be happy no matter what, even if you don't make it. Because at least you can say to yourself 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I did it. I went for it. It may or may not have worked out, but I went for it and I'm happy with my decisions, right? Now we're going into this university phase where you shove kids in, okay? People are getting accepted for social science, marketing, fucking, you name it, bunch of dumb shit, commerce, all this stuff. And as a business owner, do you really think you can go to school for 4 years and I'm just going to hire you? No, I'm not. Most people I know who went to school for 4 years didn't get a fucking job, and they ended up working at like fucking Shoppers Drug Mart for like 3 or 4 years before they finally got something remotely close to their field. And then I run into them 5, 10 years later and they're going back to school or doing something else completely unrelated to their education because they figured out what they were actually passionate about. And then they started doing something like that. Then they turned 30, 35, and they realize that they're about to be 40 and they're not doing what they love to do and they fucking hate their life and they reposition their entire career. And some try going into business, some try going into this, and they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And then you're 50 years old and you're just figuring it out. That's a lot of people right now. That's a lot of people right now. When what we should be pushing is go after what you love to do, right? I have a lot of people in my circle right now that I know they don't want to sit there and destroy themselves, or not destroy themselves, but like waste 4 years. They hate the education system. They hate going to school. And I ask them all the time, well, why are you going to do it? Well, they're making me. Someone's making me. Parents are making me. They're making me. No one's making me. In fact, what you should be doing as a leader, what you should be doing as a parent, what you should be doing is you should be encouraging your child, encouraging your brother, your sister, whoever it is, to pursue their life's passions. And if their life passion isn't going to sit down in an institution and sit there for 4 years and come out with a generic degree that everybody else has and then struggle to get work, then you should be encouraging them to simply do what it is they love. I see more value in today's economy and in today's life by someone actually entering the workforce now rather than later, especially if they're looking to do something that doesn't require higher education. There's tons of things, for example, that do require higher education. And I think that if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be anything like that, then yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to sit through 4+ years of school. You're going to have to do well. You're going to have to study. Those are fields of education and fields of work that require you to have certain skill sets that you need to sit in an educational institution to achieve. Absolutely. Never would be against that. But if you have a kid that, let's say, wants to be a business owner, doesn't know what business yet, let's arguably say, just because I'm in it, health and fitness, right? They love working out, they love training, they like doing martial arts, they like doing all that kind of stuff. And they want to just do that. You can achieve all the education you need to do that online. You can achieve all that education you need to do that part-time. You can achieve all the education you need to do that simply by doing that. I didn't learn how to run a business by studying a business manual. I learned how to run a business by running a business. And I spoke about this before in earlier podcasts. I learned how to run a business by asking other people. I learned how to run a business by figuring out what my learning style is, how I learn. So for me, like I said, it's visual and application. So I watch a ton of videos, watch a ton of content. I listen to a lot of people who are incredibly smarter than me who make content that I enjoy. I sit there, I either listen to it or I watch it. pay attention, and then I take whatever they do or say and I apply it myself. And if it works, congratulations, I figured out something that worked. If it doesn't work, I throw it out, I do something else. Some of the times, those lessons are financial and I lose a little bit. Some of the times, those lessons are simple, time consuming, and I lose a ton of time because I didn't execute properly. And guess what? That's life. Now, you can't get that from a textbook. I'm sorry, but you can't. You can't go through 4 years of school, come out and tell me you know how to run a business. You don't. You can't go through 4 years of school and tell me you know how to market as well as somebody who's been marketing for four plus years already running a business. You can't tell me that. The very notion that you're going to go to school and just come out and be employable is fucking laughable. I wasn't employable at all for the longest time. I'm still not employable. I'm not employable, one, because I can't listen to people and I swear a lot. So if you tell me something I don't like, I'll say fuck you and I'll get fired. But I like to learn and apply at my own pace, at my own speed, at my own drive, at my own comfort, right? The pressures of a 9 to 5 is not indicative to my learning style and the way I function as a human being. So I already know I wouldn't be successful in the traditional employment environment, right? I already know that I'm in the right field for what I need and for how I need to continue to educate myself going further into life, right? When we go to these educational institutions, and we see what's going on with these generic applications or generic degrees, sorry, right? You're going to go to school, and in that year that you go to school, there's going to be, let's use Canada. So let's just say Canada, 2025, September. Let's pick a topic. It doesn't fucking matter. Let's just say sociology. So for one, sociology, I don't know what the fuck that is. You're not going to get any sort of job. But say sociology. There's going to be across the universities of Ontario and Canada, you're going to have thousands of graduating high school students going into sociology and multiple different educations institutions across the country of Canada. As the years progress, some will quit, some will not, some will stay, and some will finish. Some might change their degree. But of those, there's going to be a whole bunch that come out with the exact same qualifications. Most of these qualifications are so generic. Sociology for one, marketing for one, business for another, right? They're so generic. You basically come out of school with the exact same qualifications of the other 10,000 kids who started school studying that across the country. Do you really think there's 10,000 jobs in that field for that generic degree? Absolutely not. So you're going to end up working and doing whatever it takes because you have a student loan and a lot of bills to pay because the real life fucking hits you. You're 20 years old now, 21, and you actually have to fucking pay rent. You got to pay bills. You got to pay all of that. And you have a generic degree that is almost borderline useless. And you spent 4 years studying that because somebody told you that it was the right thing to do. When if you had just spent the 4 years or 5, take a little longer, doing school part-time, working, thinking about the things you love to do, pursuing the thing you love to do, you would have come out those 4 years. You will know how to make money, how to spend money, because you in that time you're living. You're not just staying in a dorm. You're not just staying there in that bubble of university and all that. And you'll be way ahead in the workforce compared to the other person with a generic degree. I'm not talking about specialized fields like doctors and lawyers. I'm talking about generic degrees, right? Doctors and lawyers are a different subject. Like I said, those are people who do need to go to school and who do need to excel. And, I don't know of many doctors that come out and actually receive their MD and cannot simply just open their own practice and be successful. But you can't say the same for somebody with a sociology degree, right? So you're going to go into these 4 years. If you don't specialize and you don't do something that you're passionate about, you're going to come out with the same credentials as everybody else. And it's so unfortunate because that was me. I went through all those years of school and I came out with the same credentials as everybody else. A generic degree. Um, what was my first job? My first job out of school was working at a chiropractor's office doing admin work. Um, fucking photocopying and all that kind of shit. And it took me, I would say, 7 or 8 years after university to figure out how to do the thing I love to do and make money doing it. I would have rather somebody had coached me and had this kind of talk with me and say, "Hey, man, what do you enjoy doing genuinely?" And I said, "I enjoy fucking playing sports." Right? Well, I'd have said, well, find a sport that you're really good at. Fucking do it, man. Do it and then work at the side. I would say work in health and fitness on the side while you're pursuing your goal of becoming a professional athlete, and maybe take some courses part time so that you have a little bit of a backup education and just pursue it, man. Right? If you like, I use this example all the time. It's a great example because the trades are so underrated now. Um, say you're a person who loves to bake, like you just like baking cakes and cookies and all that kind of shit, and you're just, cupcakes. I love fucking cupcakes. Say you're a person who likes to bake cupcakes. What the fuck are you going to school for 4 years at university? If you like to bake cupcakes, bake cupcakes. Go to culinary school, learn how to bake well, make the best goddamn cupcakes you can make, and start selling them for fucking $8 a pop. And trust me, you will be more happy doing that and struggling than sitting at some office job and making ends meet and hating your life from 9 to 5. Right? The pursuing of education and pursuing of passion to me is more important than university. And the other thing too, like we come to this thing where you have kids that are, they go through 4 years of school in high school, and it's crazy how this happens. My wife brought this to my attention the other day, and I was just like, wow, she's so right. Um, if you think about this, you go through high school, you get your grades, and then they make you apply to this place where you have to give them thousands and thousands of dollars for them to say, yes, you can come here, or no, you can't come here. Bitch, I'm paying you money. I'm paying you life savings for some people at some point, right? If I was like, can you imagine this? You're begging someone to come to their school and to pay them money so you could get a piece of paper that is as generic as fucking possible most of the time, so that you could get out of there to say you have this piece of paper and you spent all this money only to get the most basic job and the basic rate pay that basically doesn't cover anything, and then you're sad and miserable after? What the fuck? What the fuck? Like when my wife told me that when she phrased it like that you're basically begging them. You're begging them to take you in so that you can give them 30, 40, 50, $60,000 of your money to get something that everybody else has. That's absurd. Right? And when she said that to me, I was like, holy fuck, that is so on point. Right? So that's the reality of what it is, what school is, the education system is, what it's turned out to be, especially for university. And then you expect, like, the other argument that people will make is that well, while you're there, you learn life skills. Well, not all the time. Maybe for those 2 or 3 people in your class that pay for everything, because mom and dad don't pay for everything. But most of the kids are there. Mom and dad are paying for it. The mom and dad are there thinking that you're fucking studying like a scholar the whole time. Meanwhile, you're fucking partying and drinking alcohol, going to parties, having fun. And you come out 4 years, you haven't learned a life goddamn skill except how to fucking mix a drink and do a kegger, right? That's what a lot. Let's face it. I've been to school. That's what it is, right? So the education system is very broken. You're begging people to go in now to this institution only to kind of waste 4 years of their life, right? When I look at athletes who are not competing in sports that are collegiate level, so obviously that's martial arts, and a few others. I think it's a waste of time. Um, if you know you want to be an athlete in the sport, why are you wasting time there? Unless you're an NCAA Division I athlete, where it feeds into the professional ranks, then sure, yeah. But no. So like, I think what I'm trying to get across is not everything in the education system is a waste. What I'm trying to get across to people, and when I talk to people, is that you should be pursuing the things you love to pursue. And if you're not, then don't do it. Don't go to school for the sake of going to school. Don't go to a university for the sake of going to university, because you're wasting time. Don't go to school if you don't understand how to learn. You're not going to come out of there with something special that everyone else doesn't have. You're not going to come out there with skills that everybody else doesn't have. You're going to come out of there pretty much worn out from learning, and you're going to stop learning. And that's the biggest thing. If I could say anything on this podcast about learning, it's that. Is if you don't go to university to pursue the thing that you actually love to do, whether it be law, whether it be medicine, whatever, business, if you love business, if you're not pursuing the thing that you love to do, you're going to go there and learning is going to die when you graduate. It's going to die because you spent all of those years faking it through, memorizing jargon out of books, regurgitating it on exams, only to get a piece of paper that says you succeeded and nobody cares about after. What's going to happen in your head is you're going to stop wanting to learn, and you're going to stop learning for a long time. And then you're going to say to yourself, how did I end up here? 5 years, 6 years down the road, you're going to reevaluate and you're going to go back to school and you're going to figure out what you actually love to do and you're passionate about. And then it's really learning. So my recommendation to everybody is, when it comes to education, when it comes to school, when it comes to higher education, first of all, we didn't talk about it today. I want to kind of cap this podcast at about 40 minutes because I don't want to go too long about this. But the K to 12, kindergarten to grade 12, which is way too long, by the way. I don't think people need to be in school for 12 fucking years, only to go in school for another 4 years. You spend a quarter of your life in school. That's fucking ridiculous. The K through 12 programs should simply be finding each individual student's capacity for learning. How does that person learn? How do they absorb information? What makes them excited? What makes them thick? What makes them want to come every day and pursue higher education? That's what K through 12 should be. When you figure that out and you're now a teenager graduating high school, you know how it is you like to learn. Like for me, I know I'm a visual learner and a hands-on learner. So if martial arts wasn't my thing, then I would be definitely going into the trades. And I wouldn't be going into 4 years of university. I would be going into some sort of apprenticeship program, some sort of application program where I can go in there, physically do it, physically see it, physically do it, physically learn. And I would be so much more successful going down that route than the route I did, right? I'm a lucky person. I'm saying this I'm very lucky where I figured out what it is I love to do. My drive and determination helped me do it when against all odds. Because for those who have academies and are martial artists, they all know there's a point in time where you were like, fuck, this is a waste of my time and money. You don't make a goddamn dime. Sometimes you're competing and you're getting killed and your body is just trashed and you don't make a goddamn dime. For those who make it through and have successful jobs in martial arts, it's because they love it. And it's not enough to love it. You got to live it. So when you're looking at what you want to do for your living, you have to live it, right? I said this to one of my students the other day. we were talking about education stuff and jiu-jitsu, right? And I said to him, it's not enough to love jiu-jitsu. Everybody loves something. I love eating. I love like making food. Like I tell my wife sometimes, in another life I would be a chef. I love shooting guns. I love shooting bows. I love playing with toys. Like you, everybody loves something. You got to live it. You need to. When I say live it, it means like against all odds. When everything is stacked up against you. When you have, like for example, jiu-jitsu, when you have injuries, when you have surgery, when you have no money, when you can't pay for fucking school, you can't pay to train at an academy, you can't pay, you can't drive, you don't have a fucking car. Man, I used to take the bus 3 hours a day to go train because I lived it. It was the thing that I loved to do. And against all odds, I wasn't going to stop. And I think that is where I'm going to end this today. And I'm going to tell people you need to live it. If you just like something, it's not enough to spend 4 years of your life and thousands of dollars worth of your money on something you just like. You need to spend 4 years of your life and thousands of dollars of your money on something that you live for. That when you wake up in the morning, you are like, I want to go there and learn more about this field. I want to go there and study it more. I want to go there and apply it and do it because fuck, this is it. This is what I live for. Right? And so that's where I'm going to leave this. And I want parents, fucking parents, that are pushing their kids into these situations. Man, for once, fuck off, parents. Fuck right off and let your kids tell you what they're passionate about. If it's not what you like, and it's not like the answer that you want because you were told, get a job, go to school, get a job, buy a house, live a happy life. If your kid wants to pick another path and skip that because they want to do something they love to do, I think that it's about time we start supporting those kids, and we're going to see a happier, healthier um, generation coming up. Because um, my generation, 30, 35-year-olds, 36-year-olds, that the 25 to 36-year-olds, I can tell you right now, we're not a happy bunch because we were promised. We were promised if you go to school, you're going to get a good job, you're going to get an affordable home, you're going to get all of these things that the baby boomers and everybody else had. We were promised that, and it's just not true. It's just not true. Everything is unaffordable. The education doesn't matter, and we're not getting anywhere. So the best thing you can do with your life is to go and study the things that you love to study and do it to the best of your ability, whether you're making $5 or $5,000, and you'll be able to go home every day happy because you're doing the thing you love to do. You're studying the things you love to study. You're around the people who are around, the people you're around are the people that inspire you to do better in that field, right? And so me as a dad, as a parent, I'm looking at my little kids right now. I'm studying them. I'm seeing what they love to do, what they're good at. Like, it's tough for me as a dad of a son. I want my son to be this big, tough football athlete player. My son is a free spirited kid. He says hi to strangers on the street. He hugs, he kisses, he barely does athletic stuff. And he's not unathletic. When the kid wants to be athletic, you know, he is athletic, but he's just a free spirit. He loves to draw, he loves to color, he loves to build. He's great at building things. He loves cars. I strongly believe my son, who I want to be a professional jiu-jitsu guy and do MMA and run the business with me, and that's my in my head. That's like the vision and thing. I strongly believe my 5-year-old son right now I strongly believe he will be in the field of something that has to do with cars, mechanics, engines, speed, things that go fast, things on wheels, robotics, something like that. Because when I look at him, I see that's the things that he's interested in, and that's where I'm going to push him. I'm going to push him to excel in those things, even though as a parent, I just want the fucking kid to do jiu-jitsu more than anything. He's going to do jiu-jitsu, but it's not going to be his passion and his craft because he's not going to live for it like his dad lives. When I look at my daughter now, I can see my daughter going into athletics. My daughter loves gymnastics. She loves all that stuff. She loves being creative. She loves art. She likes doing all those kind of things. And then when she's on the mat, she's fierce and competitive and she kicks people's butts. She's told me the last couple of days, Dad, I love training because when I'm angry, it helps me get my anger out. So, like, I can see her pursuing martial arts. And so I'm going to push her into that a little bit more than I would my son, even though I would, as a dad of a boy, I would want my son to do that because I'm trying not to be the parent that's pushing people into the things that they don't want to do. If my kids are passionate about something, I'm going to let them be passionate about it and I'm going to inspire them to chase it, even though it's not the thing that I envisioned for them as a dad and as a parent, right? And that's my job as a parent, is to make sure my kid is happy first instead of me being happy about what they're doing. If they're not happy about what they're doing, then I failed, right? So that's where I'm going to leave it today. We'll have this talk more with some guests and some other stuff, but I wanted to kind of put that out there on what I feel about the education system, what I feel about post-secondary education, and why I think people should definitely reconsider going to university. Not saying that they shouldn't go, but sometimes it's better to take a year off, 2 years off, and figure out if it's the right move for you before hopping into something and having 4 years of your life gone, thousands of your dollars gone, only to be miserable after. And I see a lot of people like that. And I want to help people prevent that from happening, and so they can go into their passions and the things that really inspire them in life and have a wonderful life with something that they love and they get up every day and they're just ecstatic about, like I am. So that's the end of this episode. I hope I was able to, put something out there that, maybe helps change some people's minds and inspire them to do better, inspire them to achieve more, and inspire them to pursue their life's passions and educational goals in the way that they see fit, not what other people see fit for them. That's it. That's Ashton Nodari. Thank you for watching the Ground My Gear podcast. Please don't forget to Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and spread it so that I can continue bringing content and continue to pump out this podcast and get some more wonderful people on there. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you.